Oh, there it goes.
Hello, everyone. Hi. It's the 17th of August today. Welcome to our Evolving into the Cosmic Heart show. And I know the date today because yesterday was my birthday.
Yes, so happy birthday to Rachel, everyone.
Thank you. And yeah, we like to joke that I'm coming from the future. So if you're in America now, like, so I'm at the end of my day, I can tell you that today very little happened. That could be because I
Words
had
of wisdom.
had a bit of a hangover.
Oh, naughty Rachel.
I know. I had at least
Was
three
it a...
glasses of wine.
Oh, I was going to ask if it was a cake hangover.
Yeah, that as well.
Oh, wow. Well, interestingly, that's good to hear, future Rachel,
Thank you.
because today is actually today is a dark moon. And
Is it?
dark
Is
moons, yeah, it is. And dark moons are like a double-edge sword. They're like magical and potent and raw shadow primal energy, that we need to work with. We need to embody that. But also it makes for a little tricky day because, the shadows are running amok, so it's really important to recognize your shadows and kind of get in front of them so that they don't run amok, and recognize that others might not be aware that their shadows are running amok. So it makes for an interesting day. So
Well, that's good
it's
to
good.
know. I didn't realize that because I usually know sort of when these things are happening, but I've been too busy being self-involved with my birthday, so that kind of that
As
kind
you
of
should.
thank you. That passed me by, that one. But yeah, no, now you've said that, that does make a lot of sense now from today.
Yeah, tomorrow's the new moon, and it's a new moon I believe it's new moon in Leo, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's interesting because we have then both the sun and the moon in
Yeah.
Leo. So I love when that happens because to me it feels like it's my own way of seeing like a spiritual like harmonization between the
Yeah.
polarities, right left brain, um, feminine masculine energy. So I kind of see it that way. But yeah, I woke up this morning with I know when energy shifts because I start to like feel floods of fire coming into my crown. And sometimes it gets to be so much that I start getting energy headaches. And that's what
Mm.
I was having this morning. And I was like, man, what is going on? I completely forgot about it being dark moon myself. And I had some dreams that were actually very dark moon, some shadowy, really repressed emotions and thoughts, I guess, that I had that I didn't realize it, but when I really tapped into it, I recognized what was going on. And then I pulled my cards for the day and Callie Ma showed up and I was like,
Ah,
that's what it
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what it is. So yeah, I know we like to speak about Lilith and
Yeah.
her energy, and Kalima is totally Lilith energy there. So
Yeah. Oh, that's
yeah.
great. That's really good. So yeah, I was just saying to Jamie, we're having a little chat before we came on that me and Jamie both work with Sarah's Violet Flame, and we have these spirals like out in the landscape. And I made an essence from mine, and I got the urge to make a bottle up. And I was like, I got to spray it from today. I got to spray it like loads around myself every day. It probably should be a 21-day cycle or something. I'll probably organize that tomorrow on the calendar. But I can just feel like, so it was my 50th birthday yesterday. I can just feel like I'm going into this big cleanse, which at the beginning you sort of feel like, yeah, I'm going into a great big cleanse, wonderful. And then I know like about halfway through, I'm going to be going, oh God, I'm in this great big cleanse. It's awful. And then at the end,
Yeah,
it'll hopefully look better.
Yeah, you don't think about that in the beginning of, doing that, like magical work, especially working with anything violet flame. Just like violet flame, it feels amazing, it feels magical. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh boy. it
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is transmutation and purification. So,
It is, yeah. So at the moment, it just
yeah.
feels like, oh yeah, this is great. I'll have a bit more of that. And then one day, all the bricks will fall, and then I'll have to clear them all.
Mhm. I'm just sharing this right now for us. But what is interesting that I keep noticing is that you keep spraying it around your crown chakra.
Dude, that's
And I was
I've
telling,
I've got an energy
I,
headache today because I mean I don't drink that much, so I did have 3 big glasses of wine yesterday, and that is a lot for me, but probably not enough to give me like a hangover. But I have had a bit of a headache, and I don't normally get them. I'm not a headache person,
no,
you know.
yeah, I feel like because of what I feel like really it's coming down. I feel it coming down, moving through my crown, my soul star into my crown. And when I tuned in, other than it being dark moon, I actually felt like there was like expansion like happening. I felt like there was like a shifting, especially considering the dreams that I had. The dreams were very, like I said, they were shadows that were buried within me that needed to be released. And when I really tuned into even that, it did make me feel like there was a reprogramming happening within my mind, within the mental thought process that's linked to our emotional body. Um, that it's going to help us if we can recognize these shadows that are repressed that are coming up. It does actually help to free you. It's very freeing and liberating in your thought process, because it is something that how you perceive a situation, how you felt about a situation, how you thought about the situation, um, and to really break free from feeling that, it's very liberating. So for me, it was just to kind of give you an example. For me, in my dreams, it was about how I felt people, certain people in my life, thought about me or situations that I had experienced. So it's the whole like this whole thought process, and that's what it felt like was really being cleansed. And dark
Yeah.
moon is all about releasing, so that new moon tomorrow, you can really plant those new seeds and rebirth and open yourself up to experience new opportunities and new things. And you're doing that violet flaming all around your crown chakra there. It kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
resonates with
yeah.
me there.
Yeah, and that what you saying that just reminded me what was sort of behind this, and that was so yesterday on my birthday we went and had like a little ceremony with me and some of my friends over at Boo Park and in Roskilde, which is just full of spring water. I mean, it is just so magical there. But one of the things I did was I pulled 3 cards, and one of the cards was Louise Hay's set. And it was the card that says, "The past is over and I am free." And I
Love
just thought,
that.
and the power is in the moment. And I just thought, oh, what a great card to get. Because, I wrote about it on a post in Facebook. I walked the labyrinth, which is down by the fjord in Roskilde. And I felt like I'd got to a midpoint at 50, even though technically, I'm not expecting, I mean, maybe I'll live to 100, who knows? But I could feel like, getting that card on that sort of pivot point, it really felt like, oh, I can just let go of so much now. Because, I'm not 20, I'm not 20 anymore, and I
Mm-hmm.
know I've released so many patterns, but there are still, so many old records still going round. And you know what? I'm really bored of them now. It's like I'm really, really ready to just go. And I think that's what the spray is about. It's like it's an acknowledgement of, yeah, the universe is telling me this is how it is, and yeah, I'm ready. I'm really ready to let go of a big more chunk. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't think this work ever stops, and we have to do other things in between, like get a life.
Yeah.
It can't all be clearing, but I suppose no, I don't really believe that, because the thing is, you do the clearing and things just naturally come up then, don't they? The stuff that was like being hidden, comes
Hmm.
up, and then you just nurture that and allow that to grow. So it's a way of
Yeah.
life, really, isn't it? I mean, it's one I've been doing for
It
years
is.
now.
It's
It's
a
like,
constant cycle, and even when you get free, yeah, and you have to, like, you've got to have a life. You've got to at least be able to. It's can't constantly be working with your stuff, but
yeah.
but once we work with our stuff, it opens us, it clears us, it opens us up to be able to accept new experiences, and that's when we get to have a life and really have fun and enjoy and do new things and have new opportunities. But in those experiences, we're going to pick up new opportunities to learn all over again. And we're going to pick up more things that might trigger shadows and new things. And so it's a cycle, we'll be good. And then we'll have to deal with the shadows of that again. And then we'll be good. And, so it is that constant, like the moon cycles, you know?
Mm, mm.
Yeah. And
And
this,
then like, that, oh, go on, sorry.
no, no, no. I was just going to say, this is the card that I pulled this morning, the
Oh,
Kali
yeah.
card. It's backwards for everybody watching
Yeah.
here, but it says endings and beginnings. The old must be released so that the new can enter. So it's very much what you were just saying about your cards
Ah,
you pulled.
yeah. Oh, that's so
Yeah, I gotta love
funny.
that.
But
Yeah, it's interesting,
oh yeah,
huh?
no, I was gonna say there is so much to do because there's our personal stuff, then there's our ancestral stuff, and then there's the stuff from the society around us. So it's enough to keep everyone going for quite a long time. But I did a journey last week. Um, I did a journey because I don't journey as much as I should do. And I thought, I realized that actually I have to schedule that in, just like I schedule everything else in. And so I scheduled it in, and I did a journey that I knew I had to do for like to heal some ancestral stuff. And at the end of the journey, after I'd gone off and done everything, I went back down to the ancestral realm, which was sort of like when I journeyed to it, it was like underneath, like the lower world. It was like really far down. And then, but I was getting this sort of like thank you from like the ancestors. And I also knew it wasn't just me they were saying it to, because like when I'm doing healing work with people, I'm always saying to them, our generations, what we're in now, we are doing so much work for our ancestral lines. And that's why so many of us light workers, healers, whatever you call yourself, we're doing all this ancestral stuff because the time has come for it to happen. But also, that's what I was getting with, because we're ancestors well, but, our ancestral lines that we're working for, they were all going, thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I was like, oh, wow, I've never realized that. I've never
Mm.
realized that appreciation and gratitude is there for the work that we're doing because a lot of us are working really, really hard. And like just speaking for myself, sometimes it's really felt like a burden. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
God, this is heavy. This is heavy to carry. Oh, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I know it doesn't all have to be in one generation. I know it's not all my job, but even so, you know, but sort of like they're really, really, really happy. So, like everyone out there who's ever done any ancestral stuff, your ancestors are rooting for you and really, really grateful and, so much appreciation coming to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot. You're right. A lot of times when I'm working with clients or doing readings that, and, this, it comes up, ancestral stuff comes up, and it helps them understand like what you're experiencing, what you're going through. It's not just yours. This is an ancestral patterning that you have been living out and experiencing. And when you do this self healing work, you're healing it for the generations behind you and for generations in front of you that haven't even occurred yet. So when you do this work, you're healing across space and time, frontwards and backwards. It can stop with you. Now, obviously, there's still some stuff that the generations ahead of you may have to carry themselves, but you do your work, and really, that's you are creating great shifts and ripples across space and time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is really powerful what we're doing, and it does matter. And it's hard to see for us in our everyday lives, perhaps sometimes, because we haven't got the bird's eye view. We're right down on the ground in the middle of it all with everything going on around us. But I think if we could look up higher from a further away perspective and see like over years and years and years, we would see that what we're doing is making much more of a difference than perhaps we
Hmm.
realize. It just it takes time and everything for all these things to sort of show and all the rest of it.
A really great example of that is I read something. I can't quote what it is because I can't remember what it was that I read, and it might have been multiple sources because that's what happens. Sometimes you take multiple sources and I put it together in my head. Um,
Yeah.
I read something one time that actually talked about the work that Yeshua or Jesus had done, as well as with Mary Magdalene and energy and other energies and beings like them, had done this work 2,000 years ago. The work that they were doing and they knew was not to see results in their time, that they had done the work just as planting the seeds for this time, for 2,000 years later, in this age of Aquarius, this great awakening that we're experiencing at this time, this beautiful shift in really in consciousness. But that just talks about that. It really further corroborates that about the work that what you're doing, even if you don't fully understand it or you're not fully seeing the results, although I do think you'll see some sort of results of the work that you do in this lifetime, but some of it
Yeah,
you're doing.
personally you see it, don't you? But it's like
Yeah,
it's greater than that.
it's
Like,
greater
yeah.
than that. And you think about that, that blew my mind. Like, dude, that, and it just clicked, it just resonated that, yeah, the work that they were doing 2,000 years ago is now coming, it's being anchored, and it's like a plant that's just being birthed into life now.
Yeah. And I think, and that's also like, I think the reason why the ancestors were so far down, not because they're low in vibration, it's because they're so ancient. Because we go back so far, like our DNA, because the human race has evolved through all these different, evolutionary steps. But
Mm-hmm.
we are actually connected right to the beginning, right to the very, very beginning when life first began. I
That's
mean,
right.
and that's how old our ancestors are. And that's why they're so far down. It's not like low, it's deep, deep. It's like, oh, it's so
Yeah.
profound to like connected to that energy. It was like, wow.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah,
incredibly powerful and amazing when you think
yeah,
about that, just, a lot of times when, something will come up during a session with clients and it's about their lineage, and I'll be discussing their lineage. And, for example, they might be like Irish and their entire family line is like Irish as far as they can look back and whatnot. And I'll be talking about their Egyptian lifetime, their Egyptian lineage. And they're looking at me like, I don't have that. I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm like, oh no, see, this is where we get really into that controlled, programmed way of thinking, into just into this incarnation's lifetime. But you are vast. You've had many incarnations and many lifetimes. And even through incarnations, you are still carrying those memories within your cells, within your DNA, of past incarnations that you could have been Egyptian, or your ancestral realm from other lifetimes was Egyptian or Lemurian, Atlantean, what have you. So, I mean, it's vast. I think that's the only word that I could say is it's vast, it's deep, it's ancient. Yes.
yeah, yeah. There is, and there's so much there. But yeah. Yesterday, going back to yesterday, so we went to Boo Park and me and my friend, and we did like a foot washing ceremony in the spring water.
Oh,
And because there's a place where there's like an old mill wheel, and the water comes up in the middle of it, and there's like a lot of it coming through, and it's like going like this. And we were like sending blessings out to the world, throwing the water. We had like a bit of a water party, like throwing water everywhere. And it was such a beautiful sunny day. It was all like sparkling in the light. and the energies were just so like, because like we did like a proper ceremony, like we called in like the Holy Spirits and everything, and it was so beautiful. And because like for months I've been going, I don't know what to do for my 50th birthday, because I didn't just want to have a party and everyone get drunk, because although that's fun, it just, I needed to have some sort of meaning, but I didn't come up with it until right at the last minute. And I sent out invites on Tuesday, like, can you come? Can you come? But I was really lucky that some of my friends could come, and it was just, it was so much. It was so much fun, but it was like so much water. It was just water. It was the sound of water and the water spirits working with us. And
I love
I
that.
also had a dream the night of my birthday. Like the morning, I woke up with this dream, and I dreamt about a dolphin, and it was this huge dolphin. And I don't know what it was called, but there was this epoch in our evolutionary history where everything was giant. All the animals were giant. Have you? Yeah, you've heard of that, and it's got a name. I can't
I
remember what
don't
it's called,
know.
but it was like a huge dolphin, like from that time. And it was sort of, I could see, I was looking through this, like these sort of Scandinavian buildings that have all this glass in it. It was like that. I was looking out through all this glass, and there was water outside, but it was actually a road like from the town where I grew up, Deal in Kent, where I was born. And I could see this blowhole, and I was like, oh, 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 there's a dolphin or a whale. And then it came up, and it was like this dark grey colour, and it was huge. And
Wow.
then and then this huge crocodile, like another giant one, came out of the water and went walking off. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
no. Yeah, something really prehistoric going on in my dreams there. It's
Yeah,
like,
that really, it's giving me flashbacks to a dream that I had. I shared this with some of my friends over the years, and they know about this because this dream has always left a really big impact on me. And I was, first of all, the color, it was incredible. You often don't know that you really are like dreaming in color because I tend to see things in like sepia, I guess you could say, like a sepia type color. Even during like visuals, meditation wise, I see it that way. But every now and then I'll get these really colorful ones. And this was like the colors were unlike anything I've ever seen. Beautiful. And I was walking through a meadow, and there were butterflies flying around me, and the butterflies were like bigger than my head. They were massive. And then I saw a dragon as well. And maybe at least what I could understand as a dragon, maybe it was more of a dinosaur, I don't know. But it was like what looked like a dragon, and it was a green, this really vivid green. And it was also just massive. And it switched to like an ancient civilization. And I was like standing over a cliff watching, and I could hear all these people chanting, and they were very tribal and like, kind of like native indigenous people. And they were, and then all of a sudden it just got really quiet. And it was like, you knew something magical was about to happen. And then this massive, giant serpent came up out of the ground, up and went up into the air straight up. And it kind of turned into like this statue. And it was like they honored this, the statue, or this energy and this landmark. And then next to it was actually a giant statue of a horned god. And I later ended up finding out that there was a celebration there, or there is to this day a celebration going back to like the ancient, like the Mayans and the Aztecs, that there is a celebration in Chichen Itza in Mexico. It's the snake, the serpent, Temple of Serpents, I think it's called, Temple of Serpents. And when the solstice comes, every winter solstice, every summer solstice, and I think maybe even on the equinoxes, the light casts a shadow, and a serpent actually goes down the temple, and all of the people gather around waiting for that moment to see it, kind of like at Stonehenge and whatnot. And it's in Mexico, and I myself have Aztec lineage. My grandmother is from Mexico. She was born and raised in Mexico. So I was just, my mind was blown. But it's like you said, like I remember telling my friends, like, everything was jumbo, and I don't understand. Like, all I could kind of equate that to was, I know that in the higher dimensions things are larger, and as lower we go in dimension, things get more dense, more compressed. But
Ah,
also it kind of aligns with what you were just saying, that these, in these like really ancient, more, even going beyond prehistoric times, like everything was very large.
yeah. And yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why, but I just, remember that they were. Oh, that's so interesting though. What an amazing dream. The only time I've had color, well, yeah, I've had a few dreams that sort of stand out, but one of them was like, did I see you posted something about Black Cat Day?
Yes.
Was
Yes,
that you?
today is National Black Hat Appreciation Day.
Oh, well, I can send appreciation to my cat Jake, who died
Oh,
when he was 15. But I had him for 15 good years. And after he died, I had a dream about him, and I knew it was in the astral realms because the colours were so vivid. And he was there, and he was like surrounded by all this really long grass that was like super high.
wow.
It was like massive, like around him, and he was like meow, meow, like prowling around and looking really happy. And I was so like relieved because that's something I always want to know after
Yeah.
people have passed over. And it's something I seem to have a particular gift for, because I don't particularly do mediumship with like people who have passed over. But when people have just passed over, I communicate with them really
Yes.
clearly, and especially if they need some help with passing. So that must have been one of the jobs I've done in past lives and trained for, because it's the only time I can communicate very like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's like they're
Mm-hmm.
there, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And yeah, I really needed to know that Jake was all right.
Oh.
He was so happy.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. And now, was it right after he passed that you had the dream?
It was in the months
Okay.
afterwards. I can't
Yeah.
remember how soon, but it was very
Yeah.
soon
Oh, I
afterwards.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, today is Black Cat Appreciation Day, and it's all about, because they get such a there's such a bad reputation surrounding them from fear-based superstition, which is terrible. But they really do represent good luck, prosperity. So if they pass by you, it's actually a blessing. It's not something to be afraid of and fear. It's a beautiful. They're beautiful. All cats are beautiful. They're sacred. They were considered sacred by the ancient Egyptians for a really good reason, because they have one foot in this world and one foot in the other world. And they really do act like guardians, healers. Um, One
Yeah.
thing that I can actually, corroborate what you're saying about how they, seems like in that window of after a passing is a very, very high communication time. And you are absolutely right. I do a little bit of medium work, but my specialty is animal communication, both deceased and alive. And one thing that I do notice when people contact me about reaching out to their pets that have passed on, is there's a window that I've noticed, and sometimes it can go longer, but sometimes it's like a 72-hour window. And within that window, they'll hear nothing within that window. But around that 48 to 72-hour mark is when I notice that those energies come back to try to make themselves known, to communicate a message of, hey, I made it. I'm over on the other side. Everything is okay. And sometimes it's sooner, it just depends on the energy and how quickly they go. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, it's a beautiful. Cats in themselves are just sacred beings. I love connecting with them. The wisdom that they share, it's like they're just these divine beings that are here sharing space with us, assisting us, and we don't realize that they're the elders. you know so I love working with them. Their purr is healing.
Mm.
And my cat used to, my familiar, and I always said she looked Egyptian. She had this energy about her. She passed on. She was with me for 13 years. And she would, every time I did a reading or worked on a client for healing, she had to be there. she would lay right across my cards. And the message that I received from her was that she loaned me her magic. Do you ever notice that when you're working with multiple people who are, like, gifted in some sort of way, that your abilities seem to be enhanced in that group setting, that you all seem to, you ever notice
Yes.
that? That
Yeah.
was what she was
Yeah.
doing, and
Yeah.
that's what a lot of cat energies do for us. Yeah, and she
Oh,
actually used to jump up on my clients during Reiki sessions. This is when I worked out of my house. And she would
yeah.
start
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
this.
Jake was the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jake did
see,
the
it's the
same.
healing. They're so amazing.
Yeah. Because he would just go out all day. He really loved being out. And as soon as someone was coming for a healing, he would be there on the driveway to meet them. And he would come in the house with them. And I would sort of say, "Do you like cats? Is it all right?" And, obviously, if they didn't, I would chuck him outside. And he would do all the things you're saying. He would be there.
See.
And the older he got, the more he stayed at home, which was nice
Mhm.
for me because I worked at home. But then after, because when he passed, like, because like we had to have him put down because he had a tumor in his chest, and it's what sort of we kept him going for quite a while, but in the end, it was like, yeah, we have to let him go now, and he was put down, and like I could feel that moment where he left and he'd gone, and I was sobbing in the vet, like, I just lost my
Best friend.
child or husband. And I was just thinking, oh, God knows what the vet thinks of me, but I couldn't help it. I was, so bereft without my Jake. And then when we came home, Josh, my eldest, who he's also quite energy sensitive, but he doesn't like to talk about it. He went, "Oh, I can't feel Jake here anymore." And I said, "No, that's because cats cast their
Mhm.
aura around their territory, darling." And that's because I used to suffer from feeling scared, especially at night. But from the day I got Jake, I never got scared again because he like cast his protection like around, and I could feel it, and I was like in his cat, like in the cat aura. But he looked Egyptian as well. There was something about the way he held his ears
Yep.
that just looked very
Uh-huh.
like I'm
Oh,
Egyptian.
see, that.
Yeah, and I know it.
Yes, I'll have to show you a picture one time. We'll have to exchange pictures. Because yeah, it's just, there's something about them and you just know it. Not that all cats are not magical. They are. Um, she actually looked like the Scandinavian, is it called this scare cat? Is that what it's called? She was a Maine Coon. She
Oh,
was a Maine Coon, but they're supposedly like
oh,
descendants of the Scandinavians. I can never pronounce it. It starts Skurcats or something,
okay.
but oh my
No, I
goodness,
don't know.
you'll
Yeah,
have
I
to
don't
look them
know.
up. These are just, it looks like if I ever stumbled, I think there's actually a meme out there about these cats that if you ever stumbled across one in the woods, like, that this is like a magical guardian that you just like give all your money to like give you wisdom or something, because they're so, they just have a presence. Just amazing. But yeah, I could talk about cats forever.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And so I had him when I had him. That was when I used to do my psychiatric nursing, and it was something to talk about because I loved my cat so much. But it's not really appropriate for you to sit and talk about your personal life. But on the other hand, you need to build fast
Mm-hmm.
relationships with people. And so it would be one of the things that I talk about. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
do you like cats? And if they did, I was right. I was right in there telling them stories about
Oh,
Jake and whatever. And it was a really good way to sort of start building a relationship with someone.
yeah. Oh, love
Oh,
them. So we are appreciating our magical fur baby even on the other side today. I love that.
yes,
It's beautiful. Yeah, I definitely don't think cats
yeah.
get enough appreciation, and, not to everybody, but, the average person is just completely unaware of all of this potent magic that's just available, and nothing is a coincidence. Everything is divine. And lately, I'd say this year, more and more, I've really been becoming more aware of the divinity of animals. and how they do have these divine
Yes.
roles. I'm really connecting with them in a way that I never, and I've always been an animal advocate, lover, their voice, totally against animal cruelty. Um, but this is different. This is like I'm seeing them on another, almost like an angelic level, like with the dolphins, and how the dolphins, I'm now
Yeah.
understanding how they're actually code carriers and architects. And, then I'm seeing, obviously we've been talking about the bee nonstop and the magic and sacredness of the
Yeah.
bee.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
a post not long ago, really
Yeah.
speaking up and advocating for land flies because I was guided too. So, it's amazing. This once it's there, the wisdom that's there, if you can just
Yeah.
tune it in a little bit.
Yeah. And I think it's partly because like many of us are like being sort of enveloped in this energy of sort of working more shamanically. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
naturally connects you to these things. But I also think like there's something going on in the evolution of the human race where we're starting to remember these things once again
Mm-hmm.
because we had
Mm-hmm.
them before and then it got lost with all the industrialization and everything. But when I was out on my walk today, I saw a heron.
Yes.
Do you know
We were
those?
just, I
Do you
was
have
just
those?
talking about them,
Yeah,
not
all right.
yesterday, maybe the day before. And
It was actually standing on the path where I normally walk. And I was trying to remember what it was in English because it's fiskehire in Danish. And, I don't use these English words so much more. I was like, what's it called? What's it called? Oh, it was just standing there. And so I sort of went quite a long way round on the grass so I wouldn't disturb it. And it was just watching me like all the way around. And it was so magical. I mean, I was like, I really felt like, wow, the connection, and it has so much meaning. And quite often I didn't today because I was like feeling a bit tired, blame that dark moon. Quite often I'll go and
mm-hmm.
ask what the meaning is and what the message is and everything. But just like the hares that live outside our apartment in the park outside, every time I see one, I'm like, oh, it's so magical. I get a little,
Mm-hmm.
spark. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's funny that you said that because that's what I just said.
so
I was
much
talking about
magic.
it. I was trying to think, why was I talking about it? Friday, I went to the beach with Karen, and on the way home from the beach, we saw this jumbo bird flying across, like, not too far away from the front of the car where we were driving, and it flew across the sky, and it had that like elongated, the elongated beak. So we look at first I thought, because it happened so fast, I was like, is that a stork? And she was like, no, it wasn't a stork, it was a heron. And sure enough, we were just
Oh,
talking
it was
about
a
it, and I was
heron.
like, oh my god, it was. And I was like, I remember I saw one years ago when I was it was like when I was on the brink of my spiritual awakening, and I saw when it was just standing in the middle of a creek in the water where I think I was doing some sort of a photo shoot or something, for my webpage. And I saw it standing there. And so back then I looked up the symbolism of it, and I can't remember what it was, but I do remember that it does have to do with them. They're incredibly like divine, majestic messengers that when they come, it does have something to do with being on the brink of really coming into this like majestic sovereign type of role or something. So I'll have to look it up again. Maybe we'll share it on the page for anybody who's interested. But yeah, that's kind of
Yeah, because it's like it was just so there. Do you know what I mean? So straight and
yeah.
so present. The presence of it, just like amazing. Really, really love those birds. But that's great. And one of the things I wondered was because I know they fly off somewhere else in the winter. And that was the other thing I was thinking. Is it Africa? Is it America? Where does it
Yeah.
go? Because I know they go a
Yeah,
long
that I
way.
don't know. I have
So
to maybe when I look it up, and I'll see if I can find that.
I will look it up. I will look it up. It was funny. Wouldn't it be funny if it was
It
flying
would be
its
because
way
I'll
over
tell
to
you
you,
what,
Jamie?
when I did see it that time, that year, it was in the fall. It was a fall. Yeah, it was like the fall, like in September,
Oh
October
wow.
time. So, I mean, we saw one now and we're in August, but I haven't that's not a usual occurrence. We don't see them very often.
Yeah. Well, sometimes some stay behind, I think. But yeah, that really vividly came into my head, like where
Very
will that bird be
interesting. Oh
going
yeah,
to,
that's
you
and that in
know?
itself
So
could be a very
yeah,
sacred spiritual message coming in for you, about the migration and the movement that happens and maybe expanding, maybe something's coming out to expanding to, let's say it is in America or something, you know what I mean? Be interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And also like the
Mm-hmm.
way we're all
Mm-hmm.
connected, like
I think
all
that's
these
really like what
connections.
we were talking about, like why we're becoming a little bit more aware of the divinity of animals is because of the interconnectedness. We're coming back to the interconnectedness of the all, um, especially those who are, more aware and doing their self work and their healing and doing the sacred spiritual work and tapping in, connecting with their higher self, their family of light. We're becoming more and more aware of how everything is connected. Mm.
Yeah.
We
You
do,
got any
and we
messages
haven't
from
gotten a
anyone?
chance to acknowledge everybody that is tuning in today. So thank you and welcome everybody for being here. Angie Walters said, I'm just happy I got today right and did not have to adjust any posts like all the previous week. Yeah, was that yesterday that I think it was yesterday, I could not form words properly. It was like every time I tried to say something, the word, it was like on the tip of my tongue, or I said the wrong word, but I knew what I meant, but it wasn't the right word for it. And I was like, what's wrong with me? I can't even speak. That's funny. Deborah says, explains the crazy day I'm having. Oh, the dark moon. So I do hope that that eases up for you, sweetheart. June says, I needed to hear this right now. And Belinda says, hello and perfect. So glad you ladies heard what you needed. Lindsay says, yes. Um, Belinda says, wow, about the animals. She put a bunch of animal emojis. So it's just our animal discussion. And Angie says, my Inuk, which is her male Siberian Husky, or is it a wolf dog? I mean, they looks like a wolf. Um, but I always want to say Husky with her. Howls before a session and the closing of one. Wow. That's incredible. Look at that. I know we can't forget about our divine little, our dogs, our loyal wolf beings. Mine were howling and woke me up this morning, howling like wolves. Funny.
Yeah, I miss having a pet. We
Oh.
can't have pets in the apartment where we live, but I'm looking forward to the day where, but I feel a little bit more warmly towards dogs now. I've always liked dogs, but I've had a bit of an OCD thing about being licked
Very
because they're
licky.
very licky, aren't they, dogs? But that's easing up as I get older. I seem to be sort of getting like easier with it, and I think I would be all right now because I do really love dogs. And Benji loves our 7-year-old. He really loves dogs,
Hmm.
and I think it would
Hmm.
really help, like de-stress him to have. I don't know how. Wouldn't de-stress the dog,
Well,
mind you, because Benji is a
I
bit
have some
he's
thoughts
a
on
bit
that.
full on, but
So, what I did notice about these
yeah.
newer, sensitive children that are coming into the world is that they have a natural connection with animals, especially the connection between dogs and children. It is a really powerful bond. And the licking with dogs is actually them trying to either calm you or heal you sometimes. I will notice that when I am, if I bump my foot, or, even if there's not a visible wound, but I hurt it in some way, because animals are incredibly empathic and energy sensitive. If I hurt it in some way, they will come over and just go right to that spot and start licking it because they're trying to, very much like cats, they are trying to heal us. I've noticed that when there are open
Mm.
wounds, like a cut that maybe I just got or my husband or something like that, they immediately come over and try to start licking that wound because they want to heal it. Even I catch them doing it with each other. My one dog got stung by a bee. just today, this morning. Fortunately, he's not allergic, but he did get stung on his paw. And he's the one that Benji loves, the really furry one, the one that looks like a wolf. He's got lots of fur on his paws, so you really can't see like his, you can't really see a wound unless it's a severe one on his hand. Well, my aura, my female, was not present when he got stung. It was only him and I. He came into the house this morning and she came over to him and went right to that paw and started licking it for him. So yeah, they're just natural healers. But that's why there's a lot of dogs that are actually used in therapy for PTSD as service animals. And I feel like it's very similar with children who are incredibly sensitive, because the dogs immediately know how to calm them. And they can even be trained to do that. But naturally, I catch them when like children are very much in that space of meltdown. The dogs come over and they'll like put their head down on them. And it just naturally brings the children's energy back down and calms them. So there's a very sacred bond between what I love to call the New Earth Starseed children and dogs specifically. And I think that if you set the intention, there will be one that comes in for you and for Benji.
For the right dog, yeah, because it would need to be the right. It would be, but I can really feel that it will, like you say, like calm him down. It does really need to be a patient dog, because Benji just doesn't respect anybody's boundaries. I mean, he just doesn't know what boundaries are, and he doesn't, when people need space or animals need space, he'll just keep going. The only way to do basically take him away.
I wonder if you have Keysons there. I think you should. I mean, the Keysond, which is what Anubis is the natural dog of Holland. It's the international, or not the national. I'm sorry, national dog of Holland. They are originally called German Spitz. So I don't know if they're still called Keyson, in your area or not. Germans.
Oh, if it's the national
they
dog,
call them the Smiling Dutchman.
We have to
because they have these big smiles. They're just adorable. Okay. But when I was like you, I was a cat person, and I was really not about the high maintenance of dogs. Cats are so low maintenance. They're like, whatever, I'll do what I want, And I was not, at that time, I was not into the time it took to walk the dogs, cleaning up after them, training them. I just wasn't. All of a sudden, I started getting this feeling that there was a wolf energy coming in for me. Lo and behold, my power animal is a wolf. But there was a wolf energy, and I was like, "Whoa! If I ever get a dog, it has to be a wolf, and it has to look like a wolf, But I'm like, so that's not possible.
I love those ones, the ones that look like wolves. They are my favourite. And like whenever we go for a walk, Benji has to, stroke every dog. I mean, we've taught him to ask now if he can, because not everybody's. I was out with him a couple of weeks ago, and I could see this woman was sort of back with her dog as we were going past, and I said to him, "Make sure you ask." And he said, in Danish, he said, "Hansu," which means, is he happy for me to touch him? And she said, "No, he doesn't like children." And he was like, he was really offended.
Yeah.
How could that? Why would a dog not like a child? You think they wouldn't like? He said. He was like,
and sadly, that's the thing. Sometimes, there are, children that are just very aggressive, and they don't respect the boundaries of the animal, and they're not taught that. So it's unfortunate, that happens. But good thing that he asked. Yeah, that is very sweet. But I think that he would love, I know he loves Anubis already. You said that he looks, but that's what happened with me. I was not wanting a dog. And then I started getting the message that there was this wolf coming in. And I was like, well, how's that possible? And then one day I had been running to the mall with my daughter she needed an outfit or something for school. And I was like, oh, I forgot rabbit food for our rabbit. I have to run into the pet store. As I run into the pet store, they have dogs there. They don't anymore because they're not allowed anymore. But back then they had dogs there. And she was like, let's look at the puppies. And I was like, we're not doing that. We start looking at puppies, and the only dog in there that looked like Anubis was this teeny tiny little wolf fuzzy looking thing. And I was like, oh, what are you? I need to have you. And the lady was like, do you want the information on him? And I was like, no. And I went home and I thought on it, and I pulled cards and I did research on his breed because I'd never heard of his breed. And their breed is so incredibly patient with children. They are super loving family dogs. Anubis does not like to be alone. He loves to be with us all the time. And if I get up, he gets up. If I sit down, he sits down. Very much about being with his people. Um, Very smart and intelligent,
Yeah.
and just all rounded, the perfect dog to have. Lo and behold, I pulled a card to ask for guidance, and it was a wolf in the card. And there was my wolf spirit, and sure enough, here he is. So I think you should look into it for him. I feel really strongly about that for you. I think he'll love that.
Well, we'll
Another
see. We'll see. Because
apartment.
first of all,
Yeah,
we'll have to
yeah.
get a house. So, but you know, I can feel this urge
Mm.
coming where it's never been before. I'm looking at other people's dogs and thinking, oh yeah, got this like this need to love.
Yeah, that's
It's
how you
like,
know it's coming.
yeah, how it's starting, isn't it? It's just going,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you've had it
Oh,
now.
yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. I can see that. He'll love that. Yeah. Maybe.
maybe maybe next year. Maybe next year. That would be lovely. But this year, so I have got a new project coming up, which is Sarah's Healing Circle. So I have, for the last, oh, I don't know how many months now, but quite a few months, been developing like a system of healing with
Wow.
Ascended Master Sarah, which is like a Reiki system, like with attunements
Ooh.
and initiations. And going live with that on the 6th of September. I'm working with my dear friend Louise Keogan, and we're going to be
Okay.
doing like a live
Wow.
broadcast once a month, sort of people to come and like have the healing, and then I'm going
Wow.
to be
That's
teaching it to people as
wonderful.
well.
Congratulations.
It is really exciting. It is a huge amount of work, you know. And I've just like all along, I'm just going to think about the next step, you know, and I've just broken it up into these bite-sized pieces because otherwise I would just go,
Yeah.
I can't, you know, I haven't got time, but I've done it like a bit at a time, and it's a complete system now. Now I've just got to break it down so that I can teach it to other people, you know,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest work actually. The patients and stuff, they came through in just
Yeah.
so fast. Like getting there, it's just like, oh, but they're just such beautiful. So there's Sarah's angels. She has like a host of angels. It is so gorgeous. And then her violet flame comes in. And then lastly, her energy comes in, which is this sort of amazing sort of groundingness. But it's so profound and it's so attached to like
Mm-hmm.
our evolutionary like ascension journey. That is really what it's
Wow.
coming through for. I think it's to help us transition. That's interesting. I was working with spikenard
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. You know that
Mm-hmm.
essential oil that Mary Magdalene people sort of associate with death. But that's because it's for transitions, you see, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not just death. It's like any sort of big transition. But I made up this jar. So after we did the foot washing ceremony in the park for my birthday, I gave everybody some of this special oil that I made, and it was from I
Oh,
infused like dried marigold in like olive oil for
wow.
like I don't know about 12 weeks during all over Corona time, like when there was loads of all that amazing solar stuff coming through, and like the sun shone nearly every day. It's
Wow.
never happens in Denmark. May never happen again. That amount of sunshine, and then I mixed in spikenard and like orange. some orange essential oil as well to get some higher notes. Oh, and it just smells amazing. And then we were all like rubbing that on ourselves after we'd washed our feet in the spring water. And it was just like, now I'm thinking about that transition, that sort of ascension, that evolutionary journey that we're in at the moment. It's like, yeah, it fits with that.
It really does.
Fits with that as
How
well.
exciting for you. I think that's going to be beautiful. You know, I've been working with you with Ascended Master Sarah for a while, and I can just see how amazing that's going to be and how necessary it is. So I'm excited to see and maybe possibly even and take it with you. So yeah.
Oh, that would be wonderful, because Louise has been, one of my most loyal pupils, learning about the stuff I have to teach about, Sarah, and she's been on at me for ages. Can't you teach us a healing system? Can't you teach? Because they're like, I know all this stuff, and then I was like, she's right. I got to bring this together, because it means then I can teach it to other people and share. Like, you can do this too, and
I love it.
really works. It's like, it is so exciting, and it does stop me sleeping sometimes. Because it's all so new that I do this, I do that, I do this initiation, and it all happens. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's magic.
Right.
What magic what we can do. We're just people, and with the help of all the everything else, and we go like this, and
it's such a time. It is such a time for it. It does feel, like I said, we were talking about it before the show started, that was it last week? It just felt like something opened. I don't know if it was the gate, the Lion's Gate that we experienced. It really felt like something opened, and we were really on this brink of being really able to make, and we talked about it a bit, and I know I talked about it on Moon Day, that consciousness leap off that old timeline into a whole new timeline, where it's like we can finally hit the ground running with new experiences, new opportunities. And like you, there's so much new stuff coming in for me, and I'm just like, I'm so excited to really start to get to work on things. I'm where you're at. I don't understand. I have all of this stuff. I'm like, what do I do with it? How do I use it? So hopefully that'll be coming in early 2021. But good. It's just,
yeah, I think these next couple of years going up to 2023 are just going to be a wild ride.
I think so too. Amazing. And I'm so excited to see it. I know we're all focused really on the heaviness and the dark stuff that's happening, but there's so much good happening to remember about the dark moon. It sounds scary, it sounds like heavy, and it feels it, but ultimately what you're doing is releasing the old to make room for the new. We are ultimately clearing the space and all the old stuff so that we can be opening to receive. So that's what's kind of going on right now.
Yeah, and also everything is created in the dark, isn't it? I was reading, been reading a lot of him. I go through phases every few years of reading his work, and that's Omram Mikhail Ivanhoff. He was a Bulgarian spiritual teacher, and I was reading something from him last night, and he was talking about how everything is created in darkness, and you have to have that period of darkness, and then the light actually uses up what has been created in the darkness, and then you have to have another period of darkness to create more, and then the light uses it all up. And I was like, I like that. That's another way of thinking about it. Again, it's given me another layer to really appreciate that darkness, because I mean, many of us, especially women, we love those dark sort of goddess. The Magdalene really has that about her as well. And it's like, because if you're solar all the time, I mean, I think this is also why a lot of us couldn't sleep during like March and April. There was so much solar stuff coming in. I've never experienced anything like that in my life, but it made it almost impossible to like switch off at night, but when you get into that heavy dark earth, Mother Earth, goddess energy, it's like you can rest, you can truly rest, and in those energies things get created. And we are kind of in those energies when all the stuff's being released. We don't realize it because we're more focused on the discomfort, perhaps. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not sure how it
There's a
works.
fear of dark. There's that
It is
fear of
like that.
the no one wants to experience challenge. No one wants to struggle or feel pain. But it's part of the process, and this is part of the work. It's, like the caterpillar in the cocoon. I know I use that reference a lot, but it really is like the caterpillar going into the cocoon. The caterpillar, do you think it goes into the cocoon afraid because it's about to die? That it's really about to be dissolved down into nothing, into the void of nothingness? No, it knows that it's ready for its next journey, and it has to go into, because yes, it is the void of nothingness, but it's also the void of everything in creation. So that point of darkness where then it morphs into the butterfly.
And also, many, many years ago, and I think it was the same in England as well as Scandinavia, but the start of the day was actually when it got dark, not when it got light. And you can still tell that in the Danish language, in the way they talk about last night, they say tonight. And it's because, the day would start when it started getting dark. That was the beginning of
Interesting.
that
I like
day.
that. Yeah. And that's kind of like, I think with even like a lot of the Celtic celebrations don't actually start until sundown. And they end sundown the following evening. So very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And then it sort of makes sense then, because you sort of think, why would you do that? But then if you think, if they seeing that as the beginning of the day, then it makes sense. And it makes sense from like a cosmology creation myth thing, because like creation starts
You hear
in
that,
the
everybody?
darkness.
Yeah. Everybody, magic happens in the
Everything starts in the
darkness. Could be your affirmation for the week. Yeah. And tomorrow being new moon, it's a great time to focus on what we want to birth this coming cycle. It's the perfect time.
So I'll be really focusing on that, house out there, which I hope is there waiting
Yeah.
for us, and the right dog or the right pet. That'll be going down on my
We have.
focus.
We've
And
done it
we've
again.
talked for an hour, Jamie. We've done it
This is show
again.
what, 16? 16 now, huh? I think
I told you the
I
other
think
day,
when we
didn't
talked, I
I? It's
think you
gone out
said
of my head
15.
now. I can't
So this
remember
will be
now.
16. Look at that. Yeah. So lots of
Wow.
fun
Oh my
stuff to listen
God.
back to, everybody.
I have, yeah, that's it. Because every time I create a podcast, it always asks me what episode number it is. So I have to sort of go just to check every time. I have to count them all. We'll have to start. We'll have to start a new season at
So
some point, because
season
otherwise
one,
I just
episode
can't count
16.
that many.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't it amazing how naturally
It
and
really
easy and effortlessly we
it
talk
is.
for
We
a
could
whole
just
hour,
talk and talk
Jamie?
and talk.
Get me on the right
Mhm.
subjects, and I won't. I
Yes,
won't
but there's
shut up.
always magic in all of that. So
But so I
yes, so
think,
we're
are
not
we?
here.
What's the date? Oh yeah, 17th.
No. Or
Then
the
next week
following
we're not
week.
here, and
Okay.
we're not here. We're not here. So that means we're back.
I can
Something
look.
of September. That'll be the first. That'll be the first
It's the
Monday.
7th
I've got. I wonder if it's the
because,
third or the fourth.
yeah, September 7th,
Oh, it's the 7th. Oh,
because
there we go.
Monday the 30th,
Remember.
because, okay, end of August ends on the 31st, and we will not be here that day. So we will be back September 7th with the lives, and then we will be live in our private members only Cosmic Heart group with our monthly light transmission on the 24th. And we'll have to create an event for that.
Yeah.
So, okay, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here. We'll catch up the comments that we might have missed and respond when we can. So thank you so much for sharing your hour with us.
I did
Hi,
miss one. I could
hon.
see Lynette
Thanks for
Blomquist.
being here.
Hello, Lynette. Nice to see you. She also, she's
Oh, there
also
we
had
go.
dreams where things are very big. I bet that's a common thing. I think it's like some real
Coming
primordial
in.
memory, don't you? They even had huge, like giant dragonflies and
Yeah,
everything,
I'm
don't they?
telling you,
Like
I think I read
everything was super
something one
giant.
time that maybe mentioned that everything in the higher dimensions were larger and more vivid in color, but I can't recall what that was that I read.
It's really interesting because that's how my dream was about
Mm-hmm.
Jake. And I knew he was on the astral plane, because there's grass around him. I can remember saying to someone, it's really
Yeah,
weird. It was
yeah,
massive.
interesting. Well, if anybody has any information on that to share, please feel free to do so in the comments.
Yeah. So we'll leave you with the
Yes, we
giantness
will.
image, and we'll
Bye.
see you in a couple.
Enjoy your week.
Bye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of August. Yeah.